Admiral Zexathara's forearms trembled as she read the transmission from the Terran Defense Command. The message was brief, clinical, and utterly terrifying in its simplicity. The Galactic Senate has declared war on humanity. In response, Earth hereby activates Extinction Protocol Omega. You have 72 hours to reconsider. She had laughed when the Senate voted unanimously to subjugate the primitive humans. Their little blue world had been discovered only 50 cycles ago, and their technology was laughably primitive. No faster than light travel, no energy shields, no plasma weaponry. They were barely out of their home system, with only a handful of crude settlements on nearby planets. The vote had been a formality. Humanity would be given the choice: submit to galactic authority and accept their place as a servant species, or face annihilation. It was the same offer extended to every species encountered in the galaxy's outer rim. Most chose submission. The few that chose defiance were quickly reduced to radioactive ash. But something about the human response troubled Zexathara. She had expected pleading, perhaps desperate attempts at negotiation. Instead, she received technical specifications. Commander, her aide, a nervous Valerian named Glix, approached with another datapad. The humans have transmitted additional information. It appears to be scientific data? Zexathara's main eyes focused on the screen, while her auxiliary eyes continued monitoring the fleet's status displays. What she saw made her breathing passages constrict. The data showed Earth's biosphere in excruciating detail: ocean currents, atmospheric composition, tectonic stress points, magnetic field fluctuations. But more disturbing were the addendums. Thousands of small modifications humanity had made over the past 2 centuries. Atmospheric processors hidden in major cities, deep ocean thermal regulators, polar ice stabilizers, electromagnetic field generators. What am I looking at, Glix? The aide's translator struggled with the concept. According to the attached documentation, the humans call it planetary life support redundancy. They've spent the last 200 years installing backup systems for their entire world. Zexathara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the bridge's temperature. Why would they need backup systems for their own planet? The answer came in the next transmission. A human face appeared on the main screen, pale skin, those unsettling. Forward-facing eyes and that disturbing display of teeth they called a smile. The nameplate identified him as General Marcus Chen, Terran Defense Command. Greetings, Admiral Zexathara. By now, you've received our technical specifications. Allow me to explain what you're seeing. The display shifted to show a cross-section of Earth. Thousands of red dots pulsed beneath the surface, in the oceans, and throughout the atmosphere. When we discovered we weren't alone in the universe, we immediately began preparing for the possibility that our neighbors might not be friendly. Every major city, every agricultural center, every critical ecosystem on Earth is now supported by artificial systems. We can maintain our biosphere indefinitely, even if natural processes fail. The general's smile never wavered, but his eyes grew cold. The interesting thing about life support systems, Admiral, is that they can just as easily become death support systems. Every atmospheric processor can release toxins instead of oxygen. Every thermal regulator can destabilize rather than stabilize. Every electromagnetic generator can create radiation bursts instead of protective fields. Zexathara's blood turned to ice as understanding dawned. We call it Extinction Protocol Omega. With a single command, we can render Earth uninhabitable. for any known form of life. The atmospheric composition will become toxic, the oceans will acidify beyond recovery, the magnetic field will collapse, and radiation will sterilize the surface. Nothing will survive, nothing will ever live there. Again. The display showed projections, Earth transforming from a blue-green jewel into a lifeless, poisonous wasteland. The calculations were precise, comprehensive, and absolutely convincing. You might wonder why we would choose mutual destruction over submission. The answer is simple. We've studied your empire's history. We know what happens to servant species. We've seen the archaeological remains of worlds you've strip-mined, the populations you've worked to death, the cultures you've systematically erased. General Chen leaned forward, and for the first time, Zexathara truly understood why humans were apex predators on their world. We choose extinction because it's the only choice that remains ours. You can destroy our bodies, but you cannot possess our souls. You can take our world, but only as a dead rock floating in space, a monument to the species that chose death over slavery. The transmission ended with a countdown timer. 71:47:23. Across the bridge, Zexthera's crew worked in horrified silence. The tactical display showed their massive fleet, thousands of ships carrying enough firepower to crack continents. But what? Good was overwhelming force against an enemy willing to destroy the very thing you sought to claim? Admiral, Glix whispered. Surely they're bluffing. No species would willingly extinct itself. Zexathara stared at the blue planet hanging in the void ahead of them. She thought of her own species' capitulation when faced with the choice centuries ago. The Keth Mori had chosen survival over dignity, and now they served as cannon fodder in the Senate's endless expansions. No, she said quietly. No species we've encountered would. But then again, we've never encountered humans before. She opened a channel to the Senate chambers on Galaxis Prime. This is Admiral Zexthara to Senate Command. I'm recommending immediate cessation of hostile activities against the human species. These beings represent a level of psychological warfare we are not prepared to counter. The response was immediate and predictable. Threats, demands for clarification, orders to proceed with the invasion. Zexathara closed the channel and turned to her navigation officer. Set course for the Outer Rim. All ships, prepare for immediate departure from Sol System. Admiral, the Senate will court-martial us for disobeying direct orders. She looked one last time at Earth, that small blue world whose inhabitants had just redefined the concept of defiance. Perhaps. But they can't court-martial us if we're not there to attend. She paused, considering the implications of what humanity had taught her today. Besides, I suspect the Galactic Senate is about to have much larger problems than one disobedient fleet. As her ships turned away from Earth, Zexathara wondered how many other species might learn from humanity's example. How many worlds might choose death over submission if they knew it was possible? The countdown timer read 68:15:7, but she knew the real countdown had already ended. The age of easy conquest was over. Humanity had taught the galaxy a new lesson. Some things were worth dying for, and therefore worth living for, and perhaps, just perhaps, worth fighting for.